Welcome to Factorio base tour. My name is Nila. So this is a base tour of a 2700 science per minute mega base created by a guy called Mark. He was kind enough to share this with me, and I had a look at it, and found it really fascinating. It's not only about the size, it's also about the structure of it. This is a very elegant build. It is designed specifically for this size, the 2700, which is a full blue belt of each science. It has some really interesting quirks that we are going to go through. The reason why I want to highlight this one is because it is using the train limits introduced in 1.1, and it's also a very elegant design, but it's also because it is an actual implementation of how you can use this 1.1 train limit also for train management, but also even make it dynamic so that it changes the amount of limits, changes the limits based on circuit in conditions. Really nice. It also uses mixed material trains, which is something I don't adhere to usually, so it's very interesting to see. And on top of that, it has a city block core, which of course always catches my appeal. So as I would say, as usual, but I wanted to go through this. I will have some structure where we go through it. I will go through the science build, because that's the core of it. That's where there's a lot of interesting things. We're going to talk about how the trains are set up. We're going to just cover logistics and power as well, just to cover that. The first is the whole zoom out. This is what it looks like. And yeah, it's a very watery world, so there's also tons and tons of landfill. You can see like big swaths of landfill here in the core. And let's dive in and start looking at science. So everything we're going to do is we can look at from the map view, because the transporting around the base is simply taking too long. So what we're going to do here is look at it is very much identical to what I usually do this. You have one belt going in here. This is for top comes in is space science. On the right side here, we have production science and military science. We have red and green science. We have yellow and blue science coming over from this side. So it goes in here. The way it's done, yes, thank you, save game. The way it's structured is there are 100 facilities that works at 23.45, and then there are 9 on either side here working at 9.45 speed, and that adds up to 2,700. I think I would add maybe one more here just to, I think actually this one has more than 9. Let me see, did I? No, it's 9 everywhere. There's 9 plus 9. Yeah, so that's 36 of those. I think it needs a tiny bit more. One more would be just getting it, but it's running off to 2,700, and this is also exactly what this one can support if it's flowing all the time. So basically what it does is it takes one location and says, all right, from this one, in this city block is 136 by 136, so it's larger than my normal size, but that makes sense because as I was told, basically the building the science block first, and then afterwards deciding, all right, what is the size of the location that it then has to be in order to fit the science into one city block. Makes perfect sense. I like the idea. There's nothing magical about 100 by 100, so that's just my preference for sort of a good compromise. But this one, so this is dictating the size here, and then it goes out. Now basically each city block is doing one thing. Here we have the rocket facility, 4 rocket silos going in here, and there is a circuit condition here that controls the input. So these ones disabled by control behavior. Interesting that it says control behavior. Shouldn't it be by circuit condition? In any case, what it makes sure is that these ones do not overflow. So we have 13,000, and they will launch 4 at a time. So they're just getting all of these ready, and at some point, well, there we go. That was a good timing. We're just gonna watch the silos launch here, at least getting ready. So they're all synchronized as soon as this one drops below a certain threshold. If that threshold is 10,000, 12,000, I don't know. We can see it, but they're certainly disabled. Let's see what this. I always forget that. I can't do it like this. And let me just zoom out. See, we're very far away from this. Here. I do need to take sort of something like this to have this one 12,000. Okay, so let's go back. It's at the 12,000, and they are launching. Well, I could have. Okay, that's kind of loud. Sorry about that. And it just adds 4,000 more going in here. So it always maintains a buffer, and you can see the things coming in. This is then the next step. So you say basically there's one belt coming in here, and that one belt is made in the next city block. So this one is exclusively making rocket fuel, and it's not just rocket fuel, it's rocket fuel exclusively for this, because our no, it's actually rocket fuel for all of it, including for this one. So one belt inbound of rocket fuel, that goes up here. This one gets the solid fuel from this location. You just trace it back, and then we have another city block that does nothing but, well, this one makes a lot of solid fuel, but it also makes a bit of lubricant. And here we have some oil production, and here we have some light oil cracking that then gets fed over and get fed into some other production like the plastic. So basically one city block does one thing. That was the one part. Then over here we have the rocket control units. Rocket control units are coming in here, and you get blue sciences coming in on a teeny tiny little train. So the trains are sort of adapted to the size that they need to be. And the other thing is over here we have this speed modules, that's what they're called, and they get some reds and some greens inbound. And then we can sort of go all the way back. I'm going to do circuits as a separate thing, because that's also quite an ingenious build for circuits. And lo and behold, where do we have our here that comes in from a train? So we need to figure out where that train is coming from. Thank you very much. Load, undo, and go out. So that means this location here is making all of the load density structures needed for the entire base. It's getting a bit kind of gloomy here. And now we're back to daytime only, so we can actually see what's going on. And the interesting thing about this, okay, so it goes one sign in here, and you have an absolutely stupid amount of steel coming in. We're going to look at that a bit further back, but what we're going to see here is the copper comes in, and then it comes from copper smelting. The plastic comes in. The plastic comes in from a plastic train. The plastic train is probably going to be made. All of this is making plastic and filtering in here to different locations. And now we get into the weird parts. I'm going to go back to this one, because this is one where I saw it, I was like, oh no, this is weird. And this one is weird as well. I love it. It's so strange. It's something I would never do. But look at how aesthetic it is, how well it just goes back and forth. And we have Matsuri loaders here to balance out the loading so that it doesn't, the first here they don't steal all of it. So they balance out by doing circuit condition, and look at that, it goes in. Some gets unloaded faster than the other. Perfect. We're still looking at science here. I think that the choice of making these is sort of what depends on how much space they need. For example, blue science over here takes a lot of space. You can see here the things that come in. We have, for example, this giant build just doing engines. All of this is just making engines, and the engines go over here, merge in, and that just gets fed into the blue science. Likewise, we have the sulfur coming in. Well, that's coming in on no, it's actually not coming in on a train. It's coming in from the production of sulfur, which then goes on a train, but also goes in. The sulfur is probably for sulfuric acid somewhere else for blue science. That would be my guess. And it also makes, which makes perfect sense. We have here, we have our robot frames, and robot frames comes here from the electric engines. The electric engines get a small part, stealing a small part of the engines. We feed in here, we get some batteries coming in by train. No, they're not coming by train. They're actually coming directly from production. So everything is really designed towards what is needed here. So as you can see, this base cannot be scaled up in any reasonable manner. Here, this is a stone brick production. All of these productions are they're very, very crisp, and they're just made exactly for what they need to be. All of it 12 beacons, if at all possible. Actually, everything is 12 beacon built. Very, very nice. This one is, yeah, you kind of have to do something. I like this build a lot. Not getting it fully compacted. It is what it is, but it kind of is a performance thing, but I don't think it really matters very much. But you're getting as much as you possibly can get out of these horrible, horrible situation with the rails. And this is where the steel comes in. And let's actually just go into the next topic, because now we've kind of seen the inner core here. The inner core is for the science, and the ingredients for science. Also the outer ring here is also for the ingredients for the science, but there are more things and they are coming in as well. So basically on this side, you're both loading things and also unloading things. So mainly loading on this side and unloading on the inside. I see some inconsistency about using the term in or load, and yeah, I'm also getting confused. Right? Let's look at circuits, because they are very interesting builds for circuits. So this is the green circuits. This is somehow feels kind of familiar, this build. It's going to make one full green line in, and then instead of just bringing iron and copper in by trains, then it's just a module that goes like this is a module where all of the copper needed is there and all of the iron needed is there, so that at the end here you can just feed in iron and copper, and that's what's being done. We have 8 lanes in here, and I have also 8 lanes in here. This goes for 8 to 12 and 8 to 12 at this as well, and then it just keeps feeding each of these lanes. That means we can now get each of this is 1 lane, so 1, 2, or each block. It's not really a block. Each of these modules, units, whatever, this one in total will produce 2 full lanes of green, and that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and we can repeat it down here and down here. That is super, super nice to do it this way. And the middle one is just iron just for feeding into more ingredients, putting into these weird trains. These trains, this is also very strange to me. I love it, but I don't think I would do it myself, but I love this idea. So basically this one is for green science, because green science, well, hello there. Let's wait for it to load and just stick to it as it goes into the next location, because this prevents having too many trains inbound by just merging it out here and just going, okay, so this train is going to take care of all of the materials needed in order for us to make green science. Green science is yellow inserters and yellow belts, and those require, the yellow inserters require just a bit of green circuits, but aside from that, it's mainly iron, and therefore it comes in, lots of iron being used. This condition here is when either of them is 0, and I think that's actually interesting because they will not be built at perfect balance, so you just need any of them to be 0 to go back and fill it up with more. I like that. And then it makes this nice little compact build where we can fill up these belts and make the green circuits. Similarly, that's why we have this one, half and half going into the red science. I love this build. It's super, super, super nice to do it this way. Again, this is one of those things where it is specifically designed for the size that it's done, and you can't just make it twice as big or even add 20% without redoing everything. Blue circuits, they go into 2 different trains. There's a load train for the rocket control units and another load train for the yellow circuits. There. And that one, oh, that's the sulfuric acid inbound. Let's look at how the trains are being controlled, because you can see out here, this is quite an interesting way that this is done. These ones are set to 3 trains, but you can see how many trains there are actually available. There are 5 stations, there are 16 trains, and you want a maximum of 3 trains inbound for each station. Why 3? Well, if you look at it, they are just all over the place. So this one is going to have a long travel time back. So if I set it to 1, if you set it to 1, then only when it leaves here will it start going in from one of the other locations. But by setting it to 2, well, you might see that this one is leaving and then the other one is coming in. You can see now this leaving and the other ones are waiting up here. So by having 3 here, you will basically have 1 here and then probably 1 waiting up here, which is ready to go in the stacker, and then 1 somewhere out there that's now heading in, because now it's 1, 2, 3. And I think this is quite a great way to do this, because what you're doing is trying to control how many you want inbound. So instead of having the stacker able to fill in all the trains, which is usually the problem, that if you have a large base, then you theoretically need to have room for every single train in the stacker. That's not possible here. Because as we said, we have 16 trains, and this one has 26 trains. So you would have to have a stacker of 42 lanes, and you don't need that. In this case, you're going to have only the number of stations you have here. Oh, only this one. This is 3, 6, 9, 12. 12 inbound, 4 of them are going to be here, so you only need to have 8 more stackers up here. That's the maximum you'll ever need in the stacker. It is absolutely brilliant way of doing it, and a very crisp way of just letting it flow into the base and using the new train limit. There's another place for this train limit, which is also really interesting. This one has a enable 0. First I was like looking at it, what the hell is going on? But that's because the enable set train limit is actually a condition coming in with a size L. And what this means is, since the way it works, these ones have the same name. They're all going to be called copper out or iron out. And the way this works, they will always fill up the closest one first. So it takes the input here and divide it by 16,000. And then it sets train output as 1. So basically it'll look at how much we have stored in the boxes for this particular one. If this is, it's actually kind of the same as setting the station to enable disable, but it's just using the new feature here. So basically this goes to either sets to 1 or 0. When it is more than 16,000, it sets it to 1. When it goes more than 32,000, then it will actually set this to 2, because then we want 2 trains in here, because there is actually a stacker for 2. I don't think it can get, and this is what you set here, so it can't get up to having 3 trains. But the idea is actually it's a really convenient way to control whether you want 0, 1, 2 trains to come in and load at these locations. When you use robot loading of trains, one of the key problems I usually have is that it doesn't load evenly, and often you just have to have the train parked at a station just waiting for it to fill up. This is much more convenient by saying you will go into one of the trains and these stations will simply open or close as they need. These are now blue because there's always trains assigned to them. So all loading stations are now set like this, and all unloading stations are set like this. So basically the full management of ore in this base is being operated entirely with the new train limit size. And you can see these things, this one was just flickering on and off. So these are on, so that means they can actually allow trains to come in. And as soon as that happens, it'll look in the network, see if there are any trains that get stuck somewhere. That also could potentially, depending on sort of how much supply you have, could be that they actually get stuck here and they can't go out, because there's a potential that one of these outstations, if I look at one of these outstations here, how many do we have of those? We have 16. No, we have 5. That's an in station. I don't want an in station. I want an out station. Out. That one. Where's my out station? There. There. I have 10 outstations. And how many of these outstations? 13 outstations as well. And I think it's not being fully converted yet. It would seem like I would have more than 8 of each here. Just rounding off on we have to look at the circuits. This is smelting of steel. Steel just takes a stupid amount of space, as you can see here. Steel. And again, we just have iron coming in here. En masse. And I really like the idea of decoupling the iron and copper from the inner parts. So the inner part is specifically designed to the size needs, but all the iron ore is just free flowing and goes wherever there's a demand. I think the same thing should be done for oil, but it is not done yet. It seems it goes to an oil unload here. That one is not done, but I guess that's work in progress as well. Could be converted if need be. Let's just go logistics. In this case, you can see there's 26,000 construction bots. That means it's mainly for construction. You can see a lot of solar panels, and there's a 2,000 logistics. That means this is probably only for feeding the character, and also just like this, the artillery train, and also as well just fueling the trains. That's what the logistics is taking care of. So that's pretty nice. Solar power, Here, 34.5 gigawatts, nothing except solar, 571,000 solar panels. That's one hell of an effort to put that down. And there's also going to be a silly amount of landfill. I was actually told to look at the landfill just to see. And if we go to 1,000 hours, I can't even see how much is being 4.6 million crafted landfills. So that's probably also what's being consumed. Most likely, unless we have a lot of landfill. Well, we have 172,000 in this base. So I really like this base for a few specific reasons. And the fact that it's really elegantly designed, and you start from the core here and just say, this is how big I want the base to be made, and then start designing outwards. I would also really recommend, if you have a specific signs per minute target, build it like this, in the sense of figure out what you want to do. I mean, not like the positions towards each other, but figure out how many signs you have, figure out how much space, figure out how you want to get it inbound, belts, trains, whatever, robots, and then sort of build everything else to match that scale. And then at the end, you will figure out, okay, how much steel do I need? A lot. How much copper, iron, green circuits, all that good stuff is there. Where is the red circuits? That's also just a really nice build. It's a really weird build, the red circuits, but because it kind of flows and then goes some into a train, and then something goes on and then goes into another train, and then the rest goes in here. I can see a lot of things that are very familiar. I can definitely see that someone who's watching stuff I do, like these unloading stations, they feel quite familiar. The use of these load balancer here. This one I think is very clever. This is a broken balancer that balances only to one side of the belt. Really nice little design. And you know, everything here is just, it's so aesthetic. The sacred path is there. I mean, it's a wonderful base. So thank you very much, Mark, for allowing me to showcase your awesome base. And yeah, it's really it's a work of art, and it just runs really smoothly. Shouldn't we just confirm that it runs smoothly, by the way? Science, yeah, 2.7. A tiny dip, and then it's back up here. So 2,700 signs per minute, fully operational, looking absolutely spectacular. Lots of belts. It's a really good balance of belts, trains, a bit of circuits, not really using logistics, just for the things. So I think this is very much like you would, the ideal kind of mega base, you could say, in terms of using the tools available and use the wide range of tools available, including the stuff added only in 1.1. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much to Mark for allowing me to showcase this. And if anyone has an interesting base with some quirks or something that's interesting, feel free to hit me up on Discord. I do get a lot of requests, so I'm going to be filtering through to find something that I find is interesting and unique, so it doesn't become, here's yet another base that works the same as the other one. I want them to be unique. So hope to talk to you, see you on Discord. Thank you for watching, and take care, and stay effective.